Okay, awesome. It's a rainy Thursday and I love it. I love the rain. I miss walking in the rain. Okay, so we have dealt with REST API and where did we left off? Okay, we can quickly go over these because these are kind of queries. Hold on. Okay, we can start with this one. I'm pretty sure, and then we'll just skip some slides because we have already talked about it, right? Okay, I'm gonna repeat again. Um, Creating new documents in MongoDB before you even do a model name create, right? Always need to have a Mongoose connection and a schema, right? Once you have your schema, now you can create a model. And in the model, you have the create method, and you can pass in the data that you want to be saved. And always the second parameter is a callback with the error object, which is useful for you to handle. And if the query is correct, or if the query successfully found something or not, right? Creation process. It's okay. So there's an example. Let's just do a full presentation. And I don't know how to. Never mind. I don't like it when two of my screens becomes slideshow. I'll figure it out next time. Okay, sorry. Going back. Here's an example, right? The model, which is lock.create, and the one that you want to save, it's a JSON object with key value pairings. Okay.
Sorry, I can't see your screen.
Oh, sorry. Oh, because. Uh, Thank you so much. All right. Going back, for example, locations create function, right? You have the location schema model with the create method, and you would pass your first parameter with this curly bracket, and it ends here, right? So this is the whole data that you want to create or save, right? After that's done, you would want to pass a callback function, right? With an error object and again, location. So with this one, if you get an error, again, give the correct status code. Also, throw back that error in the JSON format. If you don't get an error, put a 201 status created and return that data that uh, the person has sent to be created. I mean, the client. Validation, we already talked about this, the required through. So we don't want to spend time here. We believe we tested this, so we can also skip. Subdocuments, you just need to have the parent and access the subdocument, right? And then you can do a create. In this case, we have location and a specific location, then reviews. So reviews create controller, right? Um, as you can see, you need to grab the request parameters, which is locations ID, right? This is the slash API slash location slash the ID, and you will grab that basically. And if yes, if you have that location ID, find by ID, and select the subdocument reviews, execute the query, right? If the query fails, give a 400 in the error. If it did not give any errors, do add review. So it's abstracted. There's another function, right? And this one as well, if location ID is not valid, uh, throw an error as well. Okay, so this is a simple push function for arrays in JavaScript. Once you are in reviews, because it's in array data type format or data structure, you can push data inside. So this one is just saving, right? After you push, you do want to save that, right? If you get an error, throw an error, else location.reviews.length -1, which is the total number of elements. Um, then you create a status code 201 and this review. Yep. No, so locations.review and then the element that you want to access in that array, right? So if you want to access the last one, let's say you have 4 reviews, right? So index, so you get the length, which is 4, -1, which is 3, which is the index of the last one, right? The fourth element has the index of 3. That's why you do a -1. So this becomes 3, and you will be able to grab that element's value, right? And yeah, you just give it back to the user that you successfully added it. Adding and saving a subdocument, the do add review function that was abstracted from us, it's being displayed here. So you grab the location. If location is not valid, location not found, 404, right? If it's valid, go ahead and get the request.body, meaning um, the user basically put author, rating, review text, all of those information, grab that, right? And then push that to the reviews array and then save. In this case, when we save, again, error, throw an error, else, another function that was abstracted from us, update average rating from this location ID. And this we shown you yesterday as well. This what it does is location.reviews, and you got the reviews array. You want to slice -1, so you get the last element, right? And it returns to you as an array as well, and then you pop to get that value, right? So essentially, what's this doing is just getting the la- the last element in the array, which is the most recent review that was created, right? Then give a status that's created and then this review. Okay. So it's always repeating that again, connect to Mongoose, have a schema, do validation, and then have a model. And model, you have a method to do a create, and then you in the create method you pass your data for your first parameter. Your second parameter would be your callback function, which deals with errors, right, and location or whatever, right? Updating the average rating. It's a simple, I guess, algorithm computation. mathematical computation. So you just want to add all the ratings from the review subdocuments, right? Calculate the rating value, then update the rating value, and save the document again. So it's like going to an Excel file, you open it, right? You check for the certain column, you sum them up, then you average them, and then you hit save. Okay. So in this case, the do set average rating that was abstracted from us, it's now being shown. And as you can see, you need to get the location parameter again so you know which location you're trying to update, because again, one location has a lot of views, right? Not you're not gonna change for every location, just one location. Okay. So if location.reviews, so it means if you have something in your array, right? And another check for that, if location.reviews.length is greater than 0, it means at least you have one review, right? Now execute the following, right? Get the location.reviews.length. Again, let's say we have 4 reviews. So you get 4 in your const count, right? And then next is location.reviews.reduce accumulator, then rating. Accumulator, think of it's like your sum or your total, right? And you add the rating. So what this does is, for let's say review 1, you have 5. For 2, you have 5, right? For 3, review 3, you have 1, and you review 4, you have 1. So you would get a total of 12 in your ACC, which is your accumulator, right? So once you get the 6 as the total, you would now use that 6 divided by the count, which is we have 4, right? And then we get 2 point, around 2.5 or 3, right? And you parse that and assign that to the location that rating. So now you do have an average for the location, right? And we just want to show that, let's say for Space Needle, right? We just have a a a path name called rating, or a key called rating, and it has a value of 6, which is the average of all reviews in the reviews array. Okay, so we calculated the value. Now we do want to update. So again, we have the save function. You can't save on the sub document. You have to save on the parent document, right? So if error, throw an error. If not, say that it has updated and show that to the console, right? That what was the average rating, right? Then this one is const average rating. This is again executing the query to set average date. So this is just setting the value, calculating it, right? This is updating it, okay? Find the location, select the rating use view, execute the query, okay? So to clear this up, let's say this will be called first, and this function would be called and would be executed on this one. All right. So what I mean is, when someone calls this function and you go here, you're gonna have the value here of let's say the 2.5 or 3, right? Okay, put methods. Similar fashion. Um, you have your locations and then your ID for review. You have locations, ID of locations, reviews, review ID. To update document, same. Find the document, make changes, save the document, send back a JSON response. Okay. When send a JSON response of what was saved, right? Send it back to the client or the user. Steps, same. Okay, even the subdocument, you just add the step, find the relevant subdocument. So you find the parent, find the baby or the subdocument, make some changes in the subdocument, then save the whole document and send back to the user or the client JSON response. Mm, yeah, this one is finding the parent, right? And it's the same code, almost the same code. Then find the subdocument, params review ID. Make changes to the subdocument. Hold on, something is ringing. Hold on, I'm just gonna ask if I can remove this phone. Hold on. Okay, apologies, because I'm in an office. Okay, hopefully that's muted. So we go back here. We said that we access a subdocument, and then we just grab the values that were sent to us, like the author, rating, review text, right? And then the last part is saving. Oh no, saving and then returning a JSON response. Okay. No need to do that. Delete same URL paths. Okay, same examples. And it's extremely simple because you already have a method find by ID and remove. And as you can see, just get the params again, location ID, right? The method, and then you want to execute the method, right? When I say the method, it's the query as well, and execute the query. So same thing, error, throw an error. If not, put a 204. I think that's successfully deleted. And return a null because there's no more data. So you can, it's just saying here, you can basically have two methods. One is you find and then you remove, right? Deleting a subdocument, same steps. Okay. Parent, subdocument, remove subdocument, save the parent. Okay. Confirm success or failure of operation. Allows you to change and remove method to the end of a statement like this. dot remove. So in this case, we do find by ID, find the parent document, right? And then next we do find the reviews ID and do a remove. And because we remove an ID, we want to update the average rating again. So it will do the same calculation. It will check the array, check the number of elements, then do a reduce function, which has the accumulator and the ratings. It will total all the ratings, and then it would average, and it would set the new rating to the location's ID, to a specific location, right? Okay. Okay, so that's lecture 8. So let's go ahead and catch up a bit with lecture 9. So we wrote REST APIs, and today and tomorrow we'll be basically consuming those REST APIs, right? How to call API from Express. So what we're doing right now is we have app server and app underscore API, right? And we're gonna do basically have the app server to be the one calling to the API folder, right? Or API service. Okay, so using list, getting single documents from an API. So this is for today or for module 9. Same thing, never mind. So here is a visualization of what we're trying to achieve, right? Again, no Angular yet. No Angular yet. Okay. You have your Express application here, right? And you do want the Express application to communicate with the Express application here in an API with the API underscore app underscore API, right? So you abstracted it again, right? So because your Express app would be the one doing the request to the API, right? So you want to add a request module. Before it was the client side who's doing the request, meaning even in Postman, right? That's a client, right? We are the one requesting, right? In this case, we are going to request, let's say, to the server, and the server would request to the API. Okay. Let's continue. Adding request module to your project. Is any module, if you get an error, module maybe request not found, maybe it's because you just forgot to install. npm install save requests, right? And import it as well. And the way you import is the require. Okay. Moving on. To use the correct URL depending on your environment, you can use your old friend node env environment variables. So this would just allow you to do checks whether you're in development or you're in production, right? If you're in development, the server will be localhost 3000. If not, it's a Heroku server, right? I'll give you guys an exercise with the process.env if you guys haven't done it. The request module, simple, making a request. Two parameters. One is the option, right? And second is the callback. So for the options, we pass in the URL method JSON in the query string parameters, right? And you would know in the last column if they are required to be set, the values to be set for those options or not, right? And the descriptions are as follows, right? URL requests, the URL path, basically, the request method, the body of the request, because again, you're gonna have the body of the request, meaning like what I said earlier, let's say the author, the rating, the review text, right? That's a request body, right? That you can send to another service. Okay, and then the query string. Callback functions run when a response comes back from the API and has three parameters: error object, full response, parse body of the response. Error object is null unless an error has been caught. Here's an example. So you have the three parameters, the error object, right? Response to body. If error, throw the error, show the error, I mean, in the console. If you do get a response that is 200, triple equals meaning strictly equal to, right? Show the console log.body, right? Else, show the response.status code, meaning if you get other status code, just show it back, right? So remember the request module, right? Let's make this a bit bigger. The request module has two parameters, right? The request options and the callback function. So the callback function, it's here. We inserted it. Fine. The request options is from here. You have the URL, the path, the method, your HTTP verb, your JSON body, and your query string. Okay. I have to check what is offset, actually. I'll get back to you guys later. Using list of data from an API, okay. Function decouple the rendering from the application logic. Function becomes reusable and can be called in multiple places, avoids the nested code. Same thing over and over. Once we have our application becomes bigger and bigger, you have to check where you can abstract, meaning where you can decouple the stuff, put them in different folders, and just expose that folder, meaning the function, the variable that you have there, and reuse that in other modules, right? In other folders, basically. So here, moving contents into an external function. So render homepage. Again, this is a good naming. When we see right away, we know that this is going to render the homepage, right? And in this case, we put a, again, a function, request, response, standard type. And then what do we want to do with the response is we want to render, right? What do we want to render in this path, right? Just show title, right? I mean, have a key or actually variable. Think of it's like a variable because you can reuse this title, right, in your HTML. So the title has this value. Locator, find a place to work with Wi-Fi, right? And then now another abstraction is you now have a home list that basically just calls render homepage. Okay. Okay, to build the request, have to know the URL. So you have the URL, the HTTP verb, JSON body, the query string, and in this case, you have the longitude, latitude, max distance. When you make the request, you'll pass through a simple callback function called the render homepage function, so you don't leave the browser hanging. Okay, home list, you have the path, the request options, query string, right? So you set the path for the API requests, right? Set the request options, including URL, methods, again, the JSON body, and the query strings parameters. And at the bottom of the code, you have the request options, right? And the parameter of the callback function. And inside of that callback function, you do want to do a render homepage. So next. Through the render homepage function. Okay, we can move along. Again, the request module being used here, request option, render homepage. So in this case, you added a response body parameter, right? And you just added another one, location response body. So it removes the hard-coded array of locations, meaning hard-coded. Before, we just stored it in a file with a bunch of with one JSON object, right, with a bunch of different locations. And this is now grabbing it from the database. So initial result would look like this. So this is just formatting the distance. So it's pretty self-explanatory, right? That you have a certain unit, you want to change it, you do some methods, you basically add the precision, you round down or maybe round up, it's up to you, right? And then you return the distance plus the unit. So this one, the let data, creates a variable for the future use. So you can map the data in an array, formatting the distance value location, sends the modified data to be rendered instead of the original body content. So the map function, right? So you grab an item, and then that item you call the format distance, right? And you do the item.distance. So you do update. So what's happening here is I'm calling the item.distance. I do something with it, and I'm basically updating the item, the same ID item.distance. That's why you have that. What I'm saying is, for example, here, you have it in, I don't know what. Let's say you have it in thousands of kilometers, right? And you want to change it to meters, right? So you basically would go through a item.distance, let's say from 1,000 kilometers, you're changing it to just, let's say, one 100,000 meters, or however the calculation, right? Removing the unit from the API response. It's just removing the unit of measurement. Okay. So this basically changes from this numerical to this numerical with a unit, which is better, right? Okay, some notes. Again, we strongly always stress the importance of the errors, right? Giving the errors and catching the errors. Because you don't want the whole process to fail. You want to catch the error and just stop there and throw a status code, instead of having the error and the error still continues to work through all the code, right? I mean, the program still executes the other code. Okay, some notes. So this one is catching if you have a 200 status code and has a length, meaning has something, right? And you basically just added a validation. So before, regardless of getting any status code or even without anything in the body, you would still do this body.map, right? And if you want to avoid that, you basically want to do this validation, right? Or basically an evaluation. So uses object destruction to get the status code, yep, and then runs a loop to format distances only if the API returned the 200 status. And this is the loop. The map function is basically a loop. It will, when we say map, it will go through every elements, right? So that's a loop. Think of it like your for loop. So if you've seen map, and I think you've heard map reduce before, same thing. When you say map, grab each element, right? And reduce, same, you have each element, and now you aggregate them, total them, sum them, right? Average them. Moving on. Response body could be one of three things: array of locations, empty array when no locations are found, string containing a message when API returns an error. Okay, message sent to view. Set variable container for message. Okay. If response is an array, set a different message. If it's empty, send message to view. Okay, so as you can see in the textbook, you see a lot of these, right? I hope you guys would realize to have this algorithmic way of thinking when you're trying to do something. Try to, before you even build something, try to break it down into steps, right? Okay, moving on. Okay, defines a variable to hold a message. We basically declare the variable, we instantiate it, right? Has a value null. Next is if response isn't an array, and this instance of it can check basically, right? So response body, is it an instance of an array? If not, do this, because it's a bang or exclamation point. So it's a false. So if it's not an instance of array, this is basically the statement. If it's not an instance of array, assign this value to the message variable, API lookup error, right? An empty response body. Else, if the response body is an instance of array, however, the response body doesn't have a length, meaning it's 0, right? You can just say no places found nearby. Response body is 0, meaning you don't have any value at all, right? I mean, response body length. Okay, this is just part of the code at the bottom. That's fine. It's the same thing, right? We just added the message, right? Okay, updating the view to display the error message. So because you have the message variable already, right? You can use that in your pug or the view, right? So update the application so it allows you to specify which location you want the details for. Okay, this is good. We're just doing a get request. Going back to the simpler HTTP verb, right? You specify the ID of the location document as URL parameter. And now because we moved it to the API folder, right? So we have also created an API route, and that API route catches this one. Okay, and then your router location.id here. Router.get / location.id. And what functions do we call when someone goes to this URL path? Execute this location info controller, right? Or function. Again, this is updating your view again. What this basically does is you would have a H4 inside the card block, right? And you just want to display each locations. And how do you, no, you're displaying each location, okay, in a card. And in that location, the location name is a hyperlink. What I mean by that, so 39, what I mean by that is this is a card, this is a card, right? For each location, create a card, and then the title here, which you guys already have played around with, is you can click it, and it basically would do a get request to that specific location. Same goes with this one, right? And that is the one with the href, right? Href, just think of it as your hyperlink. Okay, welcome back. So let's just finish up the few more slides, and I'm gonna show you guys something as well. So let's do next. Moving the rendering into a name function. Let's see, render star cups. So the first one, we create a new function called render detail page and move all contents of the location info controller into it. Okay, so which is this one? And calls a new function from the controller, remembering to pass request and response parameters. So it's kind of similar to the home list. This one is location info, and you want to render, instead of the home page, you render the detail page. Okay, so you just basically decouple them. Instead of like putting this render location info title star cups inside here, you remove that and separated them. Creating API using unique ID from a URL parameter. So this one, request params location ID, right? And then next is you want to set all the request options, right? And the request module is being used again with the request options and the callback function. And as you can see here, it calls the render detail page function when the API has responded. Okay, error trapping. We can move along for now. So creates a copy of the return data in a new variable. So once we get the body, right, we just assign it to the constat data. And now the in the data, you have the coords. So even the body, you have body.coords. That's why you do have a data.coords, which are the coordinates, right? And inside of those, you want to basically reset the coords property to be an object, setting lang longitude, latitude values pulled from the API response, right? So you're basically updating the longitude and latitude for these two keys. And then once you're done, you want to render the detail page. This one is function accepts data as parameter and the data values passed through the view as required. So you get the location parameter, and you basically just use the title location.name, pager location.name. Okay, it's like the body.coords. This now is location.name. Because inside of the location object, you have this property name that holds a value. Okay, again, this is catching error codes. We've been doing that for quite a while now, so let's see. So if we get a 200 status code, do the following, right? Set the longitude, latitude, right? Render the detail page, and if it's not a 200 status code, show an error. And this show an error has is a function that is abstracted right now, right? And it also receives the status code as a third parameter. So displaying error messages let users know that something is going on and give them some indication of what it is. You could create a unique page and layout for each type of error, but for now, satisfy catching it and letting the users know. So this comes to the topic of, displaying error messages, right? So example, when you're logging into a social media, right? And instead of giving you, let's say password is wrong, it's giving you user that does not exist. Could be a bad example because of security. But let's see. Yeah, it's like for example, you're trying to sign up and then let's say you type in your email, okay, and it's not a valid email format, but the error that's being thrown to you is, let's say, password is not sufficient, or maybe email is too short, which is a weird error, right? So even displaying those texts is very important to the user so that they would know what they need to fix in their input, which is the request header, their input. Okay. So creating an error handling function for API status codes that aren't 200, and these are now the standards that you guys are seeing in websites. Page not found if you're trying to access a URL path that doesn't exist, right? It's a title status else. So you're basically just catching 404 and you give this page does not exist. Other status codes, you can just say something has gone wrong, somewhere has gone wrong, right? So this would catch your 500 errors. And you got the 404 page not found. Okay. All right. Next is, let's go over a code base. Let's see. Have you guys ever had this output? And were you guys able to fix it? Okay, cool. You got that error. I assume most of you guys have as well. So, I tried looking at this as well, and I don't know why. Sam, your other instructor, also checked on this, and he tried debugging, and he found something that would make it work. So, in your app API controllers locations.js. All right. I think we try to remove the limit in geo options. And then we're starting the server. Let's see. Yep. So remove the limit in geo options. Yeah, you can share your screen when, and we can check it together as a class quickly.
So that's what happened here. So I'm going to increase the max distance. Move limits.
It looks like you don't have it already. And what is showing on your? You have a 404 with Get JavaScript Bootstrap Min.
Oh, I always had that error, and
So that's something with your static files.
I had a
Um,
module 5.
Zach, okay. Generate the web page correctly in module 5 even with the error. That part I couldn't remember that much. Um, so Bootstrap Min. So it could be with the path of the Bootstrap. Yeah, go to your layout.pug because that's where you import your the jQuery Bootstrap. Um, let's see mine. Um,
The same. I've got the same error on other modules, but the page was generated. It's fine.
mm, can you quickly check if you do have um, go to your public is it public? Um, yep, bootstrap me. That's yes. Okay, you have it. So with this one, if someone could help her, great. If not, I am really bad at the bootstrap whatever. So for me, the easiest way I can help you if no one has solved it is push it to your branch, and I can pull the code and I can do a faster debugging there.
Okay.
Try what AJ is suggesting to add a double dot so that it tries to check your tries to add that path that you have to go up one directory. So go to the layout.pug.
Okay. So.
Do it. Yeah. Dot dot.
All of them, or just this one? Just this one. Okay.
Mm, yeah. So. Mm,
Hey Clark, I already have this code in my Git branch.
Let me check my other code base. So let's spend a few more, like 3 more minutes. If we didn't get to solve this, we'll try to move along. Yeah, for me, I remember in one of my code base with this one, I did something similar to the dot dot slash. Let's see. Yeah. Oh well. So here's what I want you to do when instead. So go to the Q&A channel and then just copy paste that get bootstrap 404 stuff and just say loading the homepage, getting this error, and I mean getting this 404. So put that in Q&A and I'll take a check during the breaks.
Okay, thank you.
And then we can move on. Maybe we can check one more student who's getting stuck. Anyone else getting stuck? Oh, Zach, yeah, you did have a question. Can you share your screen and narrate it to us as well?
Yeah. So when I do npm start, receive an error message.
Hold on. So I think my headset battery went down. So hold on. You guys can help him. Just give me just a few seconds to put it up again.
So I'll go over a few things while I was doing that then. So I was running into this error, basically missing schema error. Schema hasn't been registered for a module location. So what I did was I went back and I started at, I think, module 5 and maybe even 4. I can't remember which one. And I redid everything. And I still came up with the same error.
Zach. So first, yes, we're having this error. Let us know what are the steps you have taken as well to try to solve this, right?
Sure. So I went through all the code, I double checked it to make sure I didn't make any errors, made sure I had the appropriate packages, npm install, mongoose install. And then when I couldn't figure that out because the error was still populating, I went back and I restarted from, I think, like I said, I think it was like module 5. And I did npm, install, etc., npm start. I was able to start it. And I went through the modules again. So I did, I think, like module 5 and then 6/7. And then I'm still having the same error message. I did do some Googling, searching. Clark posted up inside the Q&A. And I found some things that were pretty much like the same relevancy as far as like, I'll pull it up for you guys since I'm not able to really talk about it from the top of my head.
Yeah, check with what Juan is saying, that check your Mongo version. And I do remember you are using the Windows 7. Is that you?
Yes, that's correct.
So it could be that. So
You said Mongo version?
yeah.
4.2.8. So yes, 4.4 is out, but 4.2 was working, and it still, I suppose, is working if I roll back to like module 5.
Because it's saying missing schema error, but I think I remember checking it out as well that you did have the correct location. I mean, the word location.
Mm-hmm.
And what Juan is saying as well is you're just now using a Mongoose driver that may not support the. I can do a quick Google Mongoose. And yeah, let's see. So I'm checking this now and sharing it to the class.
If I could be using Windows XP, I would.
And you're saying your MongoDB server is 4.2?
2, yeah, and 4.2 I checked was compatible with Windows 7. It's only 4.4 that's not compatible.
Can you check your package.json? Let's see your Mongoose version.
So that's wrong.
5.9. Let's see. And MongoDB 4.2. And also, have you pushed this to your branch?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to take a look at it as well. Mongoose 4.2. Let's see again. You might want to have at least 5.7 in your Mongoose. Can you just quickly change that to 5.7.0 and do npm install.
5.7.
Yep. I think the same thing. What did you get? Whatever. Scroll up a bit. Sorry, did you do the npm install already? I did not.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll grab that code, and I guess 10:30 we'll have concept tests, and I may use some of that time to keep checking as well. You can give us through show us the, because it will be helpful for the thought process. Show us some of the links that you are checking to try to solve this problem.
Yeah, sure. I'm just trying to remember what I viewed in my history before I pop that open real quick.
Okay.
What is today? Thursday?
It is Thursday today. Yep.
Here we go. So there's a few different things. So right here. So this is one of the things, one of the comments was you need to define a schema to pass into the Mongoose model. I checked, schema was defined.
Correct.
So I didn't really find that any helpful here. 1 second here. I can't remember if this is the one he sent me or if this is one I looked up on my own. So declaring mongoose.connect above the model imports. So I was looking at that. I'm not 100% sure if this is one he sent me or not, but I was going through the code and or the files. I just couldn't find any relevancy as far as like
Correct.
where I would even put any of that information at.
Okay, I'll try to like take a look at it. For now, I'll grab the screen first. No, because we're talking about debugging again. So this is just a quick thing that like to share before when I was sharing to my peers when I was basically doing some debugging. And we really have to be creative on how we put the keywords out there. So the context of this, don't need to go through all the slides, is I am having a problem with the pop-up window. They call this a modal, right? When sometimes you click something and it pops up. And I had a lot of problem with that. And I was Googling a lot of things, data target in Rails, link to modal in Rails, modal not change Rails. Model not changing with active record Rails, ID based on ID Rails. So I'm just trying to hit everything that I could think of with linking to this modal, right? Because it's the same with location, right? I click a location, I show location ID. So I'm thinking all the things, the keywords that I could use, right? HTML ID with active record ID. This is just the, if we have the mongoose, this is the kind of the thing with Rails. Model is showing single, model is showing the same form. What I mean by that is when I click this, I should be seeing, oh, sorry. When I click other cards, I should be seeing their cards. What's happening is when I click, let's say this Go Nuts, the Golang, it's still showing this one, which is freaking weird. So DB item to HTML ID, Rails add ID to HTML ID selector, and then tons of Google searches. Trying to think of all the underlying technologies as well. This is the like the pug, so ERB div class, Rails content tag modal Rails, how much NBA referee salary. So you get distracted as well. API for Seattle Bus Times, Reggie Bullock, Wired, East Team Weaker. Then I got my focus back again. How to pass Rails to ID HTML, map model, so ERB ID. So as you can see, I tried my best to keep changing some keyword, right? Identifier, HTML identifier, pass instance variable to model, data target in Rails instance variable, and more Google searches, right? I'm just gonna give you. Let me check. Okay, you're muted. Okay, so like add hyphen Rails, add hyphen Rails again, add hyphen Rails between spaces. Can you use numbers ID for HTML? And luckily, right, after all these different types of searches, and I got this, can you use numbers for ID HTML? And then I got the specific thing that I need, right? You don't really need to read this explanation, but, and now it works, right? So it seems like this is my real problem, right? So this is similar to your the code base. I'll show the similarities because it gets pretty annoying as well. So like there are stuff that we load, the jQuery stuff, right? If you don't put it in the proper order, right? Let's say you loaded this one first before you loaded Bootstrap first before jQuery. That's not gonna work. So it's similar to this thing as well. So this is covered in like this one. Always try to place model HTML code in top level position. Avoid other components affecting the model's appearance, right? So it took me a lot of time to just fix that simple annoying bug, right? But the lessons learned here is you have to have a creative way to write your keywords when you're searching, because that would really speed up your debugging or finding the right information to copy paste, basically. Anyway, going back to the TAs, if the TAs are not ready, we can do some concept tests.
Okay, Clark, I'm ready. I'm gonna copy here the first question and throw it in the chat box. Just a minute. Okay, I'm gonna share also my screen. But the question is already in the chat box. You can start evaluating it. All right, so today we are talking about consuming a REST API and using an API from inside Express. The first question is about adding a request module. And the question is, which of the following is the correct way to import a module? Emphasizing the word import here. We have 10 replies already. $14. $18, just two more, $19. Okay, we have 20 responses already. So everyone agree that the answer should be at the first letter A, and indeed it is. So letter B, we use to basically to install the latest version and add it to the package.json file. We have this information here in the slides. You could see it today. Answer letter C. We use when a response is received. Basically, we have a scheme here. So the correct answer is letter A. Basically, we do first letter B, then letter A, then letter C. So no need to further explanations. Everyone got the answer right. Let's go to question number 2. Which will be about callback functions. Parameters of a callback function accept so we have 3 options that are parameters and 1 that is not necessarily. Feel free to discuss in the chat box. I've seen that there are some people already exchanging some ideas. Feel free to check the materials also if you have if you're not sure about the answer, if you have any more questions about the options. You guys can try to go through the elimination process. There is one option there that is doesn't make a lot of sense. Clark spoke about it today. Maybe you might remember, like on the first hour of the lecture. If you guys want to check the material also, the slides, you will find the answer there. Okay. Think now you make things easier when to those that are still debating. Let's give it one more minute. We have to move along. Many people are changing their minds. We have 2 more to go. Last one. 50 more seconds for you to decide. Okay, well, let's move along. The answer for that is the href, as we've seen today. Clark explained that we use href when you have to simulate a hyperlink behavior. This is the wrong option there, as we can see in the materials. That the callback function basically has 3 parameters: the unerror object, the full response, and the parsed body of the response. Okay, if anyone wants to comment, feel free to grab the mic. This one at first had some split decisions, but now it's pretty much the majority turn to the heart, so I think it's okay. Moving on, Third question. I'm gonna just throw it into the chat box here. So question number 3, there's a code involved, which is in my screen. I'll try not to move a lot, but you guys won't be needing to get into details of the code. The key here is to understand what is it about and to select what is body in this code presented, or what does it represent. Also, you might find this one in the materials, the slide deck. It's more towards the end of the presentation, I believe. So maybe we can discuss a little bit by the end. And feel free to discuss among yourselves also in the chat, or grab the mic. Yeah, 2 more. I think we will need your support for this one, Clark. I guess I anticipated these questions further ahead in the content for today.
Okay.
We have one more to close. Still one more. Let's give it 15 seconds, and then we will explain this question. Okay, let's move along. Unfortunately, no one got the right answer. The right answer is letter A, copy of the returned data. We are talking about pre-processing here, so you will find in the slides, I think it's a little bit further ahead, that we have an example here where it's using body thrown into a variable, and it emphasizes that we are using a copy of the returned data into that variable. We have more information about pre-processing also in the slides, but in that case, yeah, it's the answer is copy of the returned data. You want to add something else, Clark, maybe?
Sure, sure. I can get back my screen. Thank you so much, Ron, and try to explain that more. Screen 2. Here. Yep. Remember, in your request module, right? Your request.body is this one, the JSON. Let's see if there's more example with that one. A better example. Request body. Nah, yeah, we're fine. Let's say this is like the author, blah, 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 reviews, blah, blah, or location name. So you put that in JSON, which is part of your request body, right? Which is part of the request options. And because you're using a request module, the body here is the response body, right? And here's another example. Creates the copy of the returned data. The returned data is the body, right? And there's another one here. This one is also a returned data. Nope. Nope, not that one. Not a good example. Pre-processing. Was I there already, one of them? Yeah, here's another clue. Response body, right? Which is being grabbed, because this is abstracted, that's why it's bad. Here, right? Using the request, you have the request options, which includes your request body. And in this case, you get the response body here. Okay. So quick question, when did that fix already, or Bootstrap?
Yeah, that's fixed already, but I couldn't get the cards to show up. So
Well, okay, I guess do a quick screen share before we take a break at 11 then.
okay.
And narrate to the class that what have you done to fix that one error.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, welcome back. Zach, you can share your screen and let's see if that works. And let's just also go through the thought process of how I did it. First, copy paste the error and Google it. Okay, first thing is, right now we're learning something is whenever we want to copy paste an error, we shouldn't copy specific things like location. That's something that you wouldn't find, right? Because that's specific to your app. So try to copy the generic part. This also gives you more.
What generic part do you want? Just missing schema error then?
So with this sentence, this line, you're correct that you're trying to copy that, right? But try to copy only that you think that's going to be generic. Let's say you have another application, right? You would see the same error, but what would change, right? The location, that part would change. So don't copy that part. But other people would have the same error up to the for model, right? So copy that line until the for model. The error. I mean, copy it until for model. Okay, again, guys, this is an essential skill that you have to copy the generic part and not put specific things there. Okay, I think, let's see, missing schema error hasn't been registered. The first one was the one that helped me. Click the first one. And then scroll down. And go up first. Go up first. Go first. At the top. At the top. So here's an example. If you happen to copy paste missing schema error, schema hasn't been registered for model location, there might be a big chance that you won't see this Stack Overflow title, right? Because it has users and not location. But because it omitted the thing that changed, right? The user or location, you were able to go to this title, okay? Because it's generic. Next, go down. Try to first check the first reply. For me, I usually try to skip right away with the answer. This one, it says trying to change with the app. I mean the path. Kind of didn't make sense to me. So I've gone down another response, looked for another response. This one, this is the big clue. If you read the first one, it says error occurs because the models has not been interpreted by the time the route index has been loaded. So it's one of those problems with the sequence, right? Let's say you're trying to create the model and your app doesn't recognize the schema yet, which we need to have the schema first before you create the model, right? So I think if we go down one more, does it explain? No, not that. So go back to the previous response. So this is the clue already. The sequence. So what I did, go to your code. And then go to where where was this one? Okay, so go to do a control P and go reviews. Okay, at the topmost, right? So first, what I tried is, are we checking on this specific model? Because you got two models, right? So my thought process first is try to rename that single quotes location to anything else, just so we get the different error, right? I mean, same error, different name.
Rename what?
Rename it to whatever you want, because we just want to see that if it is really the one that's being affected. Okay, save and npm start. Check your error again. Go up. So this kind of just an extra test for me to make sure that this is the error. This is where I'm getting the error, because again, you do have other models too, right? So now we know that that's it. Just revert it back first. And then now you go ahead and in line 1, create a new line. So basically insert a line between those two codes. Okay. And now you want to import, so you can just require, do a require. That's request. We need require. Okay, and then parentheses. And then single quotes. And dot dot slash models slash locations. Because that's where you basically define the schema. So hit save and let's try if it works. And check if it's now, you can now access your local host, and I believe that should work. Yeah, and for everyone as well, this is a NodeMon. This is good. I use it to my apps. One thing that I don't know if you have to keep installing it in new projects that you have, but if you have a project that you just keep building on, and you just have the NodeMon, that's good. So when you just hit save, it refreshes. Anyway, that's for later. So are you able to? I think you're able to connect now, right, Zach?
Yeah, I'm able to.
Okay, cool. So, one, take the floor as well. Just showcase what NodeMon is.
Oh, sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me share my screen. So, this one. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, let's say you guys have like an error or something. Put like location here, and you're like doing npm start. Let's say something breaks. I guess I didn't break anything. But instead of doing npm start every time, let's say I change this, then I would have to do stop and npm start again. You just do start, and it'll keep updating. So let's say I change this, save it. See, it restarts already automatically right there. Every time I make a change. So it saves time. That's basically it.
Okay, thank you for sharing, Juan. And for those who, let's say, install it and want to test it right away as well, you can just change, let's say, your view, or again, the error, I mean, create an error. Also, I think I remember using it before. You can basically customize your npm. So when you do npm start, it does the nodemon too. Yeah. So with that, I think we have when, but we can check it later because I want to go with the activity. So activity again is implement feature. This time it's I think it should be easier. Move db URI to environment file, right? And now this one is should be really pretty straightforward, right? Because you're just gonna import the module, and now you just create a .env file, and now you use that with this one. So if this is newly added, because the other implement feature is a Google API keys, which has a similar fashion, but this one is should be more easier because you don't need to get a Google API key. This is just migrating your key outside of your code. The reason for that is you don't want to push like environment variables to your repo, especially if it's public, right? You don't want that exposed, so you put that in the .env. So go ahead and either do a git pull or maybe clone it fresh. It's fine. Go to this folder. This is the folder. And I'll give you guys some time, maybe 15 minutes to try to do this and run your app, and it's supposed to have no errors, right? You're just migrating your environment variables to the .env file, or any variable actually, to your environment variables file. And then someone can just showcase. And if not, I'll showcase it as well. No, this one I need to change though, quickly. Replace the hard-coded, I think db URI, something like that. Something like that. Okay, so go ahead and do git pull or git clone or whatever. Try to implement a feature, enhancement, whatever you want to call it. And let's try to come back again, 1035 to 1040. Okay. And just a reminder for everyone, please try to do this activity. And let's deal with the HOPs again later or in the afternoon. Thank you. Okay. Has anyone tried to make it work? Okay, how about the others? I forgot to react to Vincent's bootstrap. It's King Boo. Yeah, so what I can do is maybe show you. Let's say with Zach, that's fine. I can just use his code base. So the first step was to use a module, right? I open that. npm install.env. I can just hit that as well. Let's see. I think I'm sharing, so it's fine. npm install. Usually you would have it though. .env, right? Or -- save or whatever. Global is fine. Yes, now you have .env. You have that module. Let's use the module. How do you use the module? Just do require, then .env. And this is another thing that a standard, so the .config, right? So do a .config. Okay, now we have that. The next thing we want to do is first, we want to go to the connections, right? Right now, you're basically putting this here, okay? Could be fine for now, but if this is like for production use, you would be putting your MongoDB Atlas, the password, and those kind of stuff, right? Which you don't want to be pushed in the repo if it's public. So again, this is for local, and it works for prod as well. So you don't want that to be hard-coded. So next is create a .env file, right? And create any variable name. Let's say my variable name is dburi, right? And I would paste this here, right? You can put single quotes as well. Sometimes it's funky when you put single quotes or not, and checks if it's string or not. And now you have that because you have the .env module. You can basically do something like this. Process.env. That's your standard syntax to access your env variables. Then you do a dot, and I know it doesn't do autocomplete, but you can do dburi, right? And when I hit npm start, it should still give me the connected Mongoose, right? I see connected. And if I want to test that, it's really grabbing from here. Let's say I put blank, save, npm start. It has an error saying that invalid connection string, right? Put it back, hit save. And as you can see, oops, as you can see as well, this file is grayed out because it's being ignored, right? Meaning it won't be pushed. So it does help you with like your apps as well, putting in .env. Let me see if I have other cases like I've shared before. .env. Oh yeah, sure, this one. So in this example of an Express app as well, my .env, like even the port number, you can put it there. The Mongo user, Mongo password, the dburi, all your credentials, right? For now, the exercise is just, even though it's not a credential, but again, it's an exercise so you know how you can use it, right? So you put your credentials here. And now you're wondering, okay, if it's local, you do have the .env file, right? And you can run it, it will grab this information. When you go to production, you would now think, well, if .env file isn't going to be pushed to repository and even the Heroku repository, right? So that's why now you can either do it manually, right? So let's say this is one of my, this is the app that I pushed, right? And then I go settings and I do reveal config var. So this is the environment variable, right? I can now do, let's say DB URI, and then this is MongoDB Atlas with the password, user connection string, something like that, right? This is the manual way to do that, but there's a way, push environment variables Heroku. Sorry, let's add terminal so that, let's see. Yeah, so you can basically do a Heroku config, right? It would show you your environment variables, right? And you can get that. You can set as well, right? A new environment variable. So let's me do a check on one of the apps that I do have an environment variable, and let's see if we can grab it through the terminal. Let's go back here. I think Nomster would be good. It's a Rails app, but it doesn't matter as you still have the same config. I mean, the way you set the config is the same. So let me see if I can just execute this. Enough dev project. See if it's even possible. Awesome. So here, as you can see, whatever I have in here, right? I just grabbed it. And if I do want to change something, I can just do an example like this is, right? And let's just say we do AWS access key, right? And let's say I just want to update it because it was wrong and I put whatever, right? So this pushes it directly to production, right? To not to your GitHub, right? To an open public repository, directly to the production. Okay. Yeah. Environment variables. So it is nice to see that we started with environment variables, like setting it your path, things like that. Yes. And you can even do an export. When you do export, you can export, let's say, something and put it in your local environment variables, right? If you go back to your sysadmin Linux, it's another way, right? And in development, you always have these environment variables as well, because again, you want it secured and stored in your, either in your own just local or directly to production, right? All right, so let's do a quick check on what else do we want. Okay, let's see. For those who have implemented the Google Maps API, you can basically use this to do the same thing. And if you want to do Google Maps JavaScript API, again, this is not required, but if you want to basically explore how to use APIs and integrate, Google Maps is one of the, should be the easiest one, right? Then there's tons of guide there. I think I just created a simple guide as well. And let me know if that helps for those who are doing the Google Maps API. Debugging. This one is basically just adding keys first, I think. Setting up and adding keys. Then once you've done that, you should move it to your environment variables. Yep. Okay, I can send this as well. Yeah, so the map API, now that's a good time to migrate it back to your local. For Google Map APIs, I think there are times that I pushed it as well. They're not that strict, really, because I guess they have this rate limitations as well that it's really fine. It's not a big problem, but still, you don't want other people using your API keys because, again, let's say for David, I grab your JavaScript API, and let's say you only have provisioned it for 50 requests a day, and I end up using it for 50 in a day, and you can no longer use it. What's more, if let's say you basically have a limit that allows you to do more requests, but you do have to spend money, right? And then I got your API key and start using it, so you get billed for that. For Google, never got an email, I believe, with that one, but with AWS, they're pretty fast. Again, this was the time when I accidentally pushed my AWS keys and bucket, I think. And just in one day or less than one day, I got an email with like an extensive, like a lot of details on like, oh, you should not do it. Not only that, if you don't take it out like in a few days, you have to, we will ban your account or something like that. You have to do security, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of work. Let me see if I do have that email though. Just to give you guys a glimpse if I still have it. I'll search it first and show it again. Come on, internet, too slow. Let's see. Security, I think. Keys. Okay, I don't know where that is now. Credentials. Yeah, I don't know already where that email is. Maybe GitHub and AWS. Nah, can't find it anymore. Sorry. Yep. Okay, so let's see. Oh, really? GitHub emailed you? Oh, no. Yeah. So just a quick thing. So let's say locations. because I do know. Okay, I know where to go now. Okay, cd dev, debugging, cd implement features, cd move. Okay. So if you remember, I think in your views, so you have this long stuff, right? So this one is a hard-coded API key. And if we do the same thing, and we have the environment variables, and we have the .env module, we'll just put $ because we want to access $ curly brace process .env dot whatever you name it in the .env variable. Let's say Google key, right? And I should have something like Google key and this one. Right? And this key, I think it should not be working anymore, so it's fine if it's exposed or not. Okay, so that's how you would use environment variables, and there's other ways to use it. Again, in the basic level, you can just do, for example, instead of port 3000, you can just do process.env port, right? Going back to that example, let's say, do I have more examples that one? Yeah, maybe not. Anyways, so if you guys have more questions for the .env and migrating keys, I think Chen would be trying to do that, so you can ask him. If not, ask me, ask TAs, or ask someone else. Yep. Q&A chat is there for when. I don't know if I got back to you. If you already, I'll just remind you. Just make sure you push your branch. I haven't checked the Q&A channel. Okay, you found your error. Have you fixed it? Okay, so if you have not fixed it yet, it's fine. We can just deal with it in the afternoon or maybe showcase tomorrow. For now, I can let you guys off 2 minutes earlier. Let's have a good break.